now to questions from senators. Senator Wallace.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your presentations, gentlemen. When I listen to the various points that you each have made and compare it to a lot of the other information we've had from witnesses who would be taking a contrary position to much of what you've said, and in particular when I think of what we've heard from the Minister of Justice, Minister Nicholson, and the rationale behind Bill C-15, there seems to be a wide divergence. The whole basis upon which your arguments are made, and you make them very convincingly, thinking of each of them individually, but there's a wide divergence here, I think, in the basis upon which this topic is being approached. And I think because of that, it's probably going to be very difficult, I would think, to reconcile your positions with the underlying, what I understand is the underlying assumptions behind Bill C-15. All of you have focused most of your comments on drug use and the need for treatment, and obviously those are important issues. But the underlying, as I understand it, the underlying basis behind Bill C-15 is that as a society, as a Canadian society, we have to do all that we can to discourage the proliferation of drug use, illicit drug use in this country. Bill C-15, again, I believe, is based on the assumption that we can, as you focused on those who have issues today around drug use. But I think for all of us, in particular as parents and grandparents, it's the current and next generation that we have to think about when we're dealing with these issues. So my sense of it is that many, and I believe the majority in the country, and certainly the proponents of Bill C-15, are not prepared to accept the assumption that drug use is something to be encouraged in our society. Having said that, we know it's a difficult issue. It's one that certainly is not only a Canadian issue by any sense. But with that as the basis, if Bill C-15 and the proponents of Bill C-15 are not prepared to recognize the legalization of drugs and have it considered to be acceptable in our society, then I see it's totally at odds with your position. And my understanding is your assumption is that we have got to accept drugs as a reality. Future generations are going to have to accept it. It may sound naive to say that. I realize what we do have in our society. But because of that, it almost seems irreconcilable that we could take your position and even begin to reconcile it with Bill C-15. And I appreciate your comment.
Who wants to lead off on that one?
I don't know where to begin. We're not making, I think any of us make the assumption that drug use is to be encouraged. The assumptions behind Bill C-15 should be subject to the tests of science. We should move forward on the basis of what works and what doesn't work. And I think it's pretty clear that Bill C-15 will not deliver the kinds of decreases in drug use that we would all like to see, the decreases in HIV, the decreases in overdose death. None of these things are going to happen. And I'm kind of astounded by your comments and the simplicity, the naivety, and the extent to which you misunderstand what this bill is about and fail to actually critically examine the best available evidence. My own comments were actually aimed at amendment. They were not aimed at legalizing drugs. And I'm really quite astounded by what I have to say is an incredible lack of logic in the questions that you're putting forward. I say that with respect, but I'm really very disappointed.
I do have to add to... Can I just respond to that? Perhaps I cast my net too wide among the three of you. I could have directed it towards Professors Kerr and Fischer, which probably, in fairness to you, Professor Boyd, your comment may be true, but I certainly think what I said could safely be directed towards Professors Kerr and Fischer. And I make no apology for that.
And I'll take the opportunity to respond to your comments.